Good afternoon. This is News Blitz on ZTN. Let's start by taking a look at our top stories. Parley demands answers on continuous assessment learning. We tell you how Zimbabwean guards now want to be guarded. North Korea ordered to promote Kim Jong-unism. And in sport, Zim PSL makes a return. Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa says Western countries must take full responsibility for the global climate crisis. He was addressing supporters at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport on his return from the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, Scotland today. President Mnangagwa said the West should now pay to clean up the mess and help African countries build climate resilience. Africa accounts for about 2 to 3% of the world's carbon emissions, which are contributing to climate change through global warming, while developed countries account for close to 80% of emissions.
Munyika ziri kubudirira, developing countries, Africa yose, Asia, Latin America, takasungana kuti vakakanganisa denga first world, nyika zana America, ma British, ma French, ma Germany, vose nyika zinonzi idzo ndo dzakabudirira, ndo dzakapisa mafactory muindustry. Mhepo inopisa ikaenda kudenga, ndo yakasandura kufamba kweweather, atmospheric yakaitwa affect ne-gas emissions ze-developed countries nama-industries adzo. Zvadaro vakuitwa affect ne-climate change, ndisu tisina kumbokanganisa denga racho. Saka takasungana kuti vanofanira kubvisa mari yokuti vatsigire nyika ziri kubudirira iko zvino mari yacho ngaibve kuna ivavo varungu vane nyika dzakadaro.
While in Glasgow, President Mnangagwa also took the opportunity to press on with his re-engagement agenda in an effort to end Zimbabwe's isolation. He gave feedback from his meetings with the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and America's President Joe Biden.
Ndasangana Biden, President of America. Biden can say President of Ndokuli President of Zimbabwe. Can say yeah. No bata. Dikati vanhu voku Zimbabwe na president. Pane chavana chere chavakatadzira vanhu ku America. Ndikati imwi senyika huru zvamuri izvi ndimwi the biggest democracy, ndoti ngatitaurirane, munotonga vanhu musina kutaura naro. Democracy yenyu iri papi? Mr. President, wait a minute. Ndobva adana umwe staffa yake, staffa ndobva auya zvikanzi this is Mr. Mnangagwa, President of Zimbabwe. Can you make a note that when you go back home, I would want to discuss with him. Biden.
The president also spoke about his meeting with the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
So, the Right Honorable Prime Minister hana kumbotandavadza ruoko chete, akanyemwerera. Ndo pandakazotandadza gwangu makazviona. Ndo pokutanga apo tikafarirana. Boris Johnson achatumira minista wake kuno kuti tizotaura nyaya idzi.
Zimbabwe wants international law which protects struggling economies from brain drain. At the moment, Zimbabwe invests at least 72,000 United States dollars on training a single medical doctor annually. After training these personnel, they leave for better pastures abroad. Speaking in his capacity as acting health and childcare minister on Wednesday, Professor Amon Murira said while migration is inevitable, the current brain drain disadvantages poor countries which spend the little resources they have on human capital development.
This is a poor country which is trying to do its best to educate its people, spending the very little money that they have in educating people. And somebody's just waiting to harvest that. So it has many dimensions, including very moral ones on international diplomacy. And then, I don't want to go deeper into this because I think this example just illustrates what happens. However, people are free to migrate. You can't force them. But our international systems have to take cognizance of the efforts that are made by countries in the spirit of fairness.
Still in the human development space, Parliament today grilled primary and secondary education ministry officials over the introduction of the continuous assessment learning activity COLOR program in schools. The program has been facing backlash from parents and teachers who feel its implementation was hurried. Teachers have been saying they are incapacitated to tutor the program, and the primary and secondary education ministry officials were called before the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Education following petitions by the public that the program should be stopped. The ministry has remained adamant that the program will proceed and no one will be left behind.
We are merely saying, in addition to the summative assessment which we think is one-sided and it leaves everybody else behind, our mantra is that no one should be left behind. Means therefore that our system of assessment has just been taking care of only those who are purely academically gifted, or perhaps retention gifted on how much they can remember. And we are saying that let's take our assessment to include everybody else and take care of the formative side and not look for what students have remembered or have forgotten, but also to look at what they can also do.
Legislators raised concern about rural learners' lack of access to research tools. They also queried the ministry officials on reports that some learners are getting into inappropriate relationships with the teachers to get assistance on COLOR projects. Acting Chief Director of Primary, Secondary and Non-Formal Education, Tomax Doba, speaks.
It was noted that, do learners in the rural areas have access to research now that there is no internet out there? I would like to point out that the sources of research are many and varied. True, the internet could be the one very important one, but simply finding information from the communities, oral tradition, and all these are all ways of researching. So wherever the school is, opportunities for our learners to research is always there.
Chief Director of Learners' Welfare, Psychological Services and Special Needs Education, Wadzanai Nyanungo, speaks.
As a ministry, we would like to highlight that we now have a toll-free line, and the number is 317, and any issues that threaten the safety of our learners, such as sexual harassment and any undue pressure, the ministry is ready to listen and attend to it.
Right, moving on, the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission, NPRC, has started dialogue for conflict prevention with the aim of coming up with strategies to curb political violence as the nation approaches the 2023 elections. The meetings are being held in all provinces across the country, and NPRC Deputy Chairperson Commissioner Lillian Chikwedere spoke to ZTN.
And this exercise that we are carrying out now is designed to allow the peace committee in every province to start looking at their province and also putting in place a strategy or mechanisms to ensure that the violence that took place in their provinces, the violence that is always associated with elections in their provinces.
Meanwhile, some political parties in Zimbabwe have welcomed the initiative, with MDC leader Douglas Munzoro saying it is high time political parties in Zimbabwe embrace rational disputation.
Political leaders must be enjoined at all their public meetings and rallies to speak against violence. And this violence must include physical violence and emotional violence. Emotional violence is the violence directed via cyberspace towards other political players and supporters.
MDC Alliance spokesperson Fadzai Mahere speaks.
MDC Alliance's position on measures that should be in place to curb electoral violence include a strengthening of the role of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to ensure that there are incentives and disincentives for electoral violence, and this should include conflict mitigation measures in the election regulations. The overarching principle that the MDC Alliance would like to highlight is that there's undue political interference in the work of the NPRC, and this has to stop so that the NPRC can operate with full independence as enshrined in Chapter 12 of the Constitution.
ZANU-PF spokesperson Tafadzwa Mgwadi also added his voice on the matter.
ZANU-PF applauds the NPRC for the decision they have decided to take, and those initiatives aimed at ensuring that our elections in 2023 are going to be free of violence during, pre, and post the election. Indeed, the 2018 watershed elections that we had, which ushered in the Second Republic, were free of all forms of violence, except that we had a serious challenge when violence broke out during counting process.
Moving on to livelihoods, as Zimbabwe's basic food prices spike, beef and pork have become unaffordable for most, and most citizens who are largely meat eaters and are frantic as they love their sadza and stew. But unbeknown to many, there is a cheaper and tastier option: rabbits. Rabbit meat is becoming a favorite of many, especially at barbecues. ZTN correspondent Takuchi Hambakwe narrates the rabbit production process, which was captured by our camera person Tawanda Bote.
Rabbit meat is not very common in Zimbabwe. There are few commercial rabbit farmers too. Most rabbit farmers do it largely for domestic consumption. But lately, things have changed. Shifts in consumer tastes and dwindling buying power have led to the sudden swing towards rabbit meat. Added to the demand, $1 million abattoir was recently opened in Harare, providing farmers with a platform to sell their rabbits at competitive prices.
This is an industry which is a game of numbers. From our own experience, a single rabbit will cost you about $1.90 to raise to at least 2 kilograms. And we are buying that 2 kilograms at $4. So what it means is that a farmer is making a profit of $2.10. We've also embarked on a program where we are bolstering support for farmers, local farmers. We are giving them purebred rabbits for free so that they can also boost their breeds and their capacity as well.
Prominent rabbit farmer Gift Jambaya believes the abattoir is a sign the sector is growing.
Having abattoirs definitely shows that our industry is growing, and they're going to be more because a lot are actually getting into rabbit production. So yeah, standardizing our product.
Another farmer who has benefited from the RAMAG Free Rabbits program says she used to struggle to produce quality kits when using local traditional breeds.
Whenever I desire to crossbreed, I'll crossbreed with other pure breeds so that I have better kids, and I'll be able to enjoy better prices from the market as well.
Zimbabwe Commercial Rabbit Breeders Association top honcho Sifosethu Ncube Moyo says the organization aims at making Zimbabwe a powerhouse in rabbit farming on the continent.
Our vision as Zicoba is to make Zimbabwe one of the top 3 rabbit producing nations in Africa over the next 5 years. We are actively working towards actualizing this vision. Through organizations such as RAMEC, we hope to export rabbit meat to Africa, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East.
Well, we wait to see if the industry will thrive. But while we wait, it won't hurt to treat your taste buds to a juicy, well-marinated piece of rabbit meat.
Some private security companies in Zimbabwe have engaged the services of the police special weapons and tactics team in order to escort them when transporting huge amounts of money and valuable goods. This comes in the wake of an increase in cash in transit heists and armed robberies. In one of the biggest cash heists in Zimbabwe's history, armed robbers pounced on a cash in transit vehicle and robbed the security crew of $2.5 million near the Gwebi River Bridge along the Harare-Chirundu Highway. In June, another gang raided a cash-in-transit vehicle at Parkland's shopping center in Bulawayo and got away with an undisclosed amount of cash. A National Police spokesperson, Assistant Commissioner Paul Nyati, told ZTN that private companies must not hesitate to tap into the police's expertise in security matters.
If you remember, during the beginning of the year, we had robbery cases where some financial institutions, where some supermarkets lost, huge sums of money. And as the police, we offered our services to assist them. So those companies want to tap into the expertise of the police in terms of being assisted in safeguarding some of their cash, some of their money. They are free to engage local police stations. They are free to engage officer commanding support unit district province in Chikurubi, and definitely modalities will be put in place to assist them.
Let's head to South Africa. There might still be some counting to do and some dust to settle, but one thing is clear: the ANC performed poorly in Monday's election. The party's leadership would have woken up on Wednesday morning deeply concerned about how it fared in Monday's local government elections. Historically, low voter turnout figures hit hard as the EFF and the Newcomers Action SA ate significantly into its support base, as did the IFP in northern KwaZulu-Natal ANC strongholds. UN AIDS Agency Executive Director Winnie Byanyima says West and Central Africa will see a rise in HIV infections and AIDS-related deaths in a few years due to disruptions in health services because of the coronavirus pandemic. Although HIV infection rates and AIDS-related deaths have been on a steady decline over the past decade, the region accounted for 22% of AIDS-related deaths in 2020. Byanyima said the jury was still out on the extent of the impact of the coronavirus and HIV, but the agency is seeing examples of disruptions. Now, government representatives at the UN Climate Conference in Glasgow on Thursday will turn their focus on tackling the global economy's addiction to fossil fuels with a raft of new pledges aimed at curbing production and use of oil, gas and coal. Planned announcements are meant to help speed a transition to cleaner forms of energy that scientists and world leaders say are needed quickly to slash greenhouse gas emissions and avoid the worst impacts of climate change. But the pledges could also highlight lingering divisions between wealthy nations pushing for a swift end to the dirty fuels of the Industrial Revolution and poorer developing countries that rely on coal and other fossil fuels in order to grow. Kim Jong-un has removed portraits of his father and grandfather and is ordering officials to promote the ideology of Kim Jong-unism as he tries to escape the shadow of his ancestors. The North Korean leader, aged 37, has removed pictures of Kim Il-sung, the country's revered founder, and his predecessor as Supreme Leader Kim Jong-il from official buildings in Pyongyang. The term Kim Jong-unism is being promoted in government circles, and Kim is being referred to in state media as a great leader, a term normally reserved for his grandfather Kim Il-sung. Experts say humility for predecessors has been a staple of the Kim family dynasty, and the move is unprecedented. But Kim Il-sung did ban works by Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin and John Stalin in his own bid to sideline his ideological forebearers and create his own legacy. Don't go away. Up next is Sports News. All right, in the sports segment on a Thursday, we start with football. The Harare City and Herentals clash will be the first of the 2021-2022 Kasolaga Premier Soccer League match at the National Sports Stadium tomorrow. And Herentals coach Kumbirai Mutuegu-Ziva says they have prepared enough thanks to the Chibuku Super Cup.
We benefited much in terms of combination building and also trying to test players that we've also brought, and also giving time to players that we've also recruited, particularly from our lower division and also from outside. They had to benefit from our system or know our system, how we play, and that's why we were picking late. Now they were now jailing, or now they are now getting to understand what we require or what the Herentals require. So it is very beneficial, and we look forward to that. It is going to take us better. It is going to give us some better competition or competitive edge when we start the Premier League.
Well, still with football, Warriors utility player, that's Jordan Zemura, has been ruled out of the two remaining 2022 World Cup qualifiers. That's against South Africa and Ethiopia next week due to an injury. Zimbabwe play Bafana Bafana in a dead rubber at the FNB Stadium in Johannesburg on Thursday before they host Ethiopia at the National Sports Stadium 3 days later. South African-based mixed martial arts champion Themba Gorimba will auction his kit to donate to the Taurai Zimunya family. Zimunya is a Zimbabwean boxer who died hours after a bantamweight fight in Harare. Gorimba posted on Instagram to create hype for the auction, which closes at 6 p.m. today. He, however, did not issue a statement on the initiative. Now, before we close, here is the news just received. A Harare man appeared in court on Thursday facing 4 counts of theft from cars. Investigators heard that between September and November, the accused Kudakwashe Ernest broke into 4 different vehicles on separate occasions, stealing $5,000, passports and laptops. He was nabbed at his Masasa home following a tip-off, and Harare magistrate Dennis Mangosi could not remand him in custody as his lawyer demanded to know how his client got badly injured while in police custody. Well, that does it for News Blitz this afternoon. Thank you so much for making us your choice. You can connect with us on our social media platforms. On Twitter, it's at ZTN News, Instagram at ZTN, and our website is ztn.co.zw. Don't go away. World in 5 is coming up next.